Hey everybody, I know this is late, and this is really the late show, late show. Anyway, this is the late show. Really, it is the late show. But the reason it's the late show in Zenny 62 live stream parlance, hey Barry, how you doing? Is I wanted to go over what I heard at today's Las Vegas Stadium Authority meeting, and based on what the Clark County planner explained, crunch some numbers. And I did that. But before I share with you what I came up with, which I would think got your attention in terms of this, uh, the title for this live stream, let me do a little housekeeping in terms of installing the tags here, the meta tags and all that stuff that I generally talk about. Hey Steve, how you doing? And again, my apologies for being tardy, but I felt it was really important to get these numbers down, mainly because no one else has. What I mean by that, I mean the cost numbers, because again, this is a function of people in media not being paid enough to be asked to do the heavy lifting intellectually to let you know what you heard today actually means with respect to the Las Vegas stadium project for the Oakland Raiders relocation, okay? And the NFL as well. So that's why this is really important. The stream is good, and I'm going to make sure I'm muting myself.
If you're a consultant or a coach, you probably hate these things.
Which I have just done. And I'm saying, hello all. And Crawford says, this is beyond flimsy, but you know, I want to get your reaction after what I tell you, okay? And the specifics behind it. It's one thing to hear or read what this title says. I'm putting this out for Facebook and Twitter right now. But it's another thing to absorb the details I'm about to explain to you, and I'm going to get right to them just right after I have installed this onto the hashtag Twitter page, and then Raiders, like so. And okay, I'll do the rest of the tweets later, and then I'll get to this right now. Right now. Let me explain to you. Let me turn off. How's the sound, by the way? How's the sound, by the way? Do I need to add a speaker? Now, I'm not going to jump to conclusions, okay? I'm not going to jump to conclusions. I'm only going to tell you what is obviously before us. That's it. I am not going to jump to conclusions. I'm only going to tell you what's before us. And we can go from there, but I'm not going to jump to conclusions. Listen to this, all right? First of all, how many of you out there, let me go back to the watch page. How many of you out there saw the Clark County report? If you didn't, oh, thank you, Barry. How many of you, I'm going to say hello. I'm writing, the screen is here. The screen is how to say hello. How many saw the Clark County live stream? Okay, Steve Collins did. Maniacs has some knowledge of the Raiders need to buy more parking. Hello, Jamal. How are you doing? And let's see. Barry said he saw the replay that was uploaded. All right. And okay, so a number of you, ML Money Lynch saw it. A number of you saw it. All right. For those of you who didn't, or at least want to be reminded of what you heard, the Clark County planner said two things. First of all, she said unequivocally that the Raiders would have to provide alternative off-site parking. What that means is you have on-site parking, which is on the Russell Road property that the Raiders just purchased for $77 million. That's 62 acres, okay? And that's also 6,200 spaces from reports, all right? But then there's alternative offsite. The Raiders have no other land for that. And the question is, how much is that? So the MGM exec basically said, and I want to make a point regarding MGM, the MGM exec who is also on the SNTIC, okay, the Southern Nevada Tourism and Infrastructure Committee, because the gentleman plays a key role, or has played a key role, not just with the MGM, but in the Las Vegas business community and in the international business community, as he represents MGM. He is Bill Hornbuckle, very reasonable man. And it was Bill Hornbuckle, get this, the casino guy, who asked the hardest questions. And among them, he asked the Clark County planner what the parking requirements would be. She said 1 parking lot for every 4 seats, which comes out to be 16,250 spaces, okay? Now, 16,250 spaces. Now, this is what I figured out here. Went back and did some figuring. Now, that's based on, according to the University of Tennessee, according to an online search that I conducted, the common parking space, there's no national designation. There's nothing that says, according to the nationwide Presidential Commission on Parking, you must provide blank. No, it works by city ordinance, county ordinance. There are a number of different requirements that are a function of the needs of the city or the county or the municipality at hand. All right. Anyway, so this could vary, but not by much. Generally, we're talking about a 10 by 18 foot parking space. 10 by 18 foot, all right? So if that's 10 by 18 foot parking space, remember, we're not including the throughway. We're not including the way you get to that space and how it's laid out, right? We're not including that road space within the parking lot. You understand that? All right. But that alone times 16,250 spaces, it comes to 2,925,000 square feet. That's 2,925,000 square feet of space needed. All right? Needed. Okay? Now, again, of that 16,250 spaces, we have 6,200 that are said to be on the Russell Road site. That leaves us with 10,050 or 10,050 spaces that are in search of a home somewhere around that site. Understand? Understand? Okay. So what that boils down to is 10,050 spaces times the 10 by 18 feet, right? The size of the space. So you're looking at 1,809,000 square feet. All right. So if you have to build a building, if all of those space, if all that has to be enclosed, all right, what you're looking at is a building cost of the number of spaces times the cost per space. And according to, this was the university, this was a spreadsheet that I located regarding cost estimates for parking that you can look up yourself, all right? But that comes to $17,533 per space in 2013 dollars. This is 2017. So you take 1,809,000 times $17,533. Remember, these are sort of round ballpark estimates, all right? And that comes to 176 million. That's right, $206,650 in costs. That's base level costs for a parking structure. So you're talking about a parking structure that's basically $176 million to provide offsite, if it has to be a structure. If it has to be if you can't find any space around that is, conveniently located, of course, alternative offsite, all right? And if you can't find, you have to build it, that's your cost. Okay, so maybe you're looking for land. What does that equate to? It equates to, if you assume 1 acre is 43,560 square feet, right? That comes to 41 acres, just over 41 acres of land. The Raiders just bought 62 acres at 77 million. So think about it. Now they've got to go in search of another 41 acres of land. Or if you like, just over 100 acres that they need, which is about what they wanted at the Coliseum site. So this project is in bad shape right now. I can tell you that. The next step is the NFL owners meeting, because the planners, led by Jeremy Aguilo, Applied Economics in Las Vegas, have to get as much of the lease done, and they're probably working right now overnight, as they can before May 23rd. They are literally racing against the clock. And as was pointed out in the Stadium Authority meeting, they have 12 documents that have to be done before they can actually say the lease is done, which is, I might add, one of the 12 documents. And they're not going to do that by May 23rd. In fact, their deadline is October 17th to get all of that done. And then on top of that, they've got to get this parking report in, and they've got to get a report into the FAA. And they have to have all of the stadium drawings done. I mean the real ones, not these pretty pictures you've seen. The ones based on what a developer and a contractor would come up with. They got to get that done to get the development agreement done. Now they only need general drawings for the Clark County people and for the FAA people. And right now they could really get, as I see it, they could get that part done, or excuse me, they could start on it now. They're probably not going to get anything from the FAA for another 3 months or so, maybe 4. It depends. I don't know how the FAA people in Nevada work with their schedules and everything else. Maybe they'll fast track it. Maybe somebody's got some money under the mattress they can give to them and expedite things. I don't know. But the bottom line is they need to make a determination there. And Clark County needs to not only needs to make a determination, but the Raiders have to find off-site parking, which means they've got to buy it, or someone has to offer it. This is an enormous monkey wrench in this. It is huge. Excuse me, huge, bigly problem. Okay, huge. Now I'll go to your comments. So now, does everyone understand what we're talking about here? And I've said before, okay, now. And so here we go now. Hey everybody. Hi Richard. And yeah, the mayor and the city of Oakland need to jump all over this. My question is, will they? I don't know. Yeah, May 23rd is the next owners meeting. And working backward, let's see here. We've got, hey, can everybody thumbs up, please? I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Melvin Lovejoy. Melvin, how are you, sir? And let's see here. And so, let's see here. We've got, hi all, Crawford Coliseum site. You'll get all that. Vegas, not so much. And let's see here. Rick Rice. Hello, Rick. Hi, Giovanni. Rick Rice, no problem. You're not late at all. I just started. Let's see here. And let me see here. Stephen Collins, yeah, 43,562 square feet for acreage. And Melvin Lovejoy says, Zinni, I was wondering, if UNLV is so important in all this, should they have worked out before the NFL meeting, not after? I don't understand that at all. I am going to speculate that a large part of the problem with UNLV was adjunctly related to Mr. Adelson's ouster. Or his decision to go out, not his ouster. Well, if you like, his engineered ouster. But for those of you who believe that Adelson is completely out, and right now it still looks like he is, then you have to also consider that perhaps UNLV was stalling because they didn't know what their future was, because they had tied their future to Mr. Adelson's efforts. So I'm going to speculate that the delay had a lot to do with that. Now, Go Cubs is really bad shape. Crawford is right. Oakland is the better solution. And Rick Rice says, so they almost have to buy. They have to buy almost twice the amount of land. That's hilarious. Yeah, that's right. They have to buy almost twice the amount of land. That's right. Richard Solero, hey, how are you doing? And he says, I don't see it. The city of Oakland and the mayor need to jump all over this. Keep the Raiders in Oakland where they belong. That's right. And Rick Rice says, amateur hour. You know, that's about what it's coming down to. The Rolling 100 says, hey, Zinni, how you doing? Well, and the next owners meeting is May 23rd. The spring league meeting. And Crawford says twice for 62 acres. You can get 130 acres for that price, maybe a little less. Well, they just paid $77 million. Okay, so let's really think about this. They budgeted $375 million for on-site infrastructure costs. They just spent $77 million of, so we're way below $200 million. With this parking issue, all right, this is an off-site. This is off-site, right? But it really deals with an on-site problem, and it is a big chunk that falls into the NDOT matter regarding, well, technically it doesn't fall into the NDOT because NDOT said, hey, you have to pay for roads, right? This is not a road issue. This is a parking issue. Yes, it's related to roads, but it's not spelled out in Section 29. I believe it's Subdivision F of the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Act, okay? This is new. This is new in accordance with Clark County's requirements for parking on the part of a developer. And this isn't something where they're being prejudiced against the Raiders. No, they are quite accustomed to helping plan for ultra large or large scale projects. Look at the Venetian. Look at Caesar's Palace. Look at Aria. You get the idea. Las Vegas is replete with examples of large scale projects. They being Clark County planners, are very used to working with the developers of those projects to get the parking right in terms of number. So they're not going to obviously cut any corners with respect to the Raiders. That much is clear, among other things, from this meeting. Okay, now and so Fixed State says Rick Rice, it seems like a better deal. And hey, John Marks, how are you? Let's see here. Steve Collins says, it's hard to believe they would purchase property for a stadium and not understand they would need more for parking. True. And Maurice Keith said, what we missed. Mark Davis is bending over for Las Vegas or LVSA pushing this through. Neither. Actually, what's going on, Mr. Keith, is that the rubber of development reality is meeting the road in Las Vegas, and the Raiders are having to deal with it. Note, I haven't even talked about the community benefits issue, okay? But this issue is enormous. This is huge, folks. I mean, huge. I cannot underscore how giant a problem this is. I cannot, okay? Now, let's see here. And Alfonso Jimenez, and the Raiders still don't have property for headquarters and practice facility. That's true. Barry Lee says, already did. Thank you, Barry. And ML Scott, I intend to. Go Cubs says it's going to fall through by November for this Las Vegas Stadium project. I'm betting on that. Crawford says Oakland needs to put chains and pit bulls around the goalpost to prevent the NFL from moving again. Meaning, give them the land and so be it. And Rick Rice, Flux State says, Rick Rice, it seems like a better deal when you take into account the future earning potential. You know, that earning potential, people mention that, but it's quickly consumed by the costs. I said in an earlier live stream that you're looking at a total of $4 billion in costs for this, not just the stadium, but the off-site excuse me, but the off-site infrastructure costs and with respect to roads. This is not infrastructure with respect to roads. This is parking. All right. But with respect to roads, you're looking at 900 million. You got this expenditure, which is, let's peg it between 150 million and 200 million. Okay. And hopefully less, because you have to look at ways where you can, whittle down that number, but it's still a substantial number. There's no escaping it. This is a chunk that the Raiders didn't anticipate before, and all of a sudden, whoop, there it is. Okay? And let's see here. Hector says, how is this going to help Oakland since the NFL doesn't care about our city? Well, we don't know about that. Let's see. We don't know about that at all. This is, okay, now. Go Cubs says, it's really late. I'll see you, guys. And I apologize, Go Cubs. I started late, but I wanted to get this important bit of information out. And I'm going to go until 2 o'clock myself, because it's, I'll do a special live stream tomorrow. I usually don't do one on Friday. I'll do one Friday early, and just to get some more information about this. Joseph Jones said, Zenny, did it seem like Clark County is putting a lot of get out of town clauses in the lease agreement? I do get the impression that that Clark County is, this is how I think that they're reacting, all right? I mean, just universally, okay? And it's this way. And I said I was going to stay on until 2. I'll go past 2, because there's 71 watching right now, and this is of obvious importance to everyone, and I would imagine people have some questions here. I honestly believe that people in Clark County government are looking at this and thinking, wow, this is an enormous project, and if we take our normal template of planning and we put it on this, we need more time and more money than we have. That's what's just sticking out here, all right? The question is, do the Raiders have enough time and money? Okay? That's what you're looking at. Now, note, I'm not expressing any prejudice regarding this project right now, because I told you that there were going to be factors that came in, but I said it was going to be the documents, all right? And this is actually related to that. But this, folks, is enormously, gigantically huge. You would say, okay, if you wanted to be, nasty to me, you would say, well, how come you're a smart guy? How come you didn't think that they were going to do the off-site thing? Well, simple. Because there are a number of examples today of stadiums and arenas that are built without the normal requirements for parking. You want one big example? Look at Giants Stadium. I don't mean Giants in New York. I mean San Francisco Giants, AT&T Park. We used to call it Pac Bell, where Barry Bonds set the record. That area. The idea was to force people onto mass transit. Okay? And I think anyone who has been over to Pac Bell Park, now called AT&T Park, more than once, and lives over there or near there in Oakland as I do, has to agree that approach has been a success. It has been a success. So it was intellectually sloppy on my part to assume that Las Vegas would take that tact, that approach. It's quite obvious they're not going to in Clark County. Clark County is applying the same planning template that they use for the Caesar's Palace expansion or for the Cosmopolitan. You notice all those large parking structures around? They're there for a reason. And the reason isn't because, Steve Wynn wanted to pay for it over at Wynn and Encore, right? No, it's because the planners there have established a requirement for them, and that requirement applies now to the Raiders Stadium. Okay? Now, so, see what I'm missing here. Yeah. Enrique Puentes, it's true the Raiders want to use outside developers instead of local Nevada workers to build a stadium. That's a great question, and it's, right now, the Raiders are sending a signal that they do, and it's an enormously politically nasty and dicey mention to use, bit of news to sin. Joseph Jones says Clark County is starting to see how bad this deal is and to save face and putting on unattainable extras. No, I don't think that's it, Joseph Jones. As much as we may want it to be, in fairness to Clark County, these are the same planning requirements they would apply to any project that goes on in Las Vegas. Okay, so it's not a matter of, oh, we didn't do this for Steve Wynn, but we're going to do this for you, or we didn't do this for Hornbuckle and MGM, we're going to do this for you. No, that's not what's happening. This, what you all are seeing, look, my background is urban planning. I'm used to this. This is where I live, so to speak. This is common. An experienced developer knows it. And the reason why the Raiders are here right now is because they don't have that experienced developer. Who was that person that got away? What, they allowed to go away when Adelson was involved? That was Majestic Realty. Majestic was that experienced developer, as was Las Vegas Sands. Both are gone. And so now we're seeing, writ large, just how damaged this deal is without the involvement of two of the three original partners. Okay? Serious business here, all right? Now, Zinni, are you going to... Yeah, I'm going to try. Bullet, yeah. Maniac says, do you think that the minority owner is playing a part of this behind the scenes? No, I do not. No, I do not. This is nothing about anything untoward. This is urban planning 101, folks. This is urban planning 101. There's nothing untoward or sneaky here going on here. Do you think Oakland... What do you think Oakland officials will do with this information? That's a very good question. But I believe that our ability to sue has been damaged unless we go for an injunction for good faith. But I believe that, and I hold the view that Scott McKibben of the Oakland Alameda County Joint Powers Authority holds, which is, you know what, we just need to keep our guns on the table, set aside, maybe locked in the drawer, under, you know, lock and key, and just see how this plays out. And this is what Mr. McKibben is talking about. He didn't anticipate this. But we all knew going in that, and I've said this before, we had new people who had little experience or no experience doing this involved. And that was especially true when Majestic and then Las Vegas Sands exited. That's where we are right now. So Rick Rice says, they suckered Mark Davis into this deal. They're going to keep milking him until he no longer owns the team. But even if he doesn't own the team, remember something. If there's a scenario where all of these agreements are completed and he doesn't own the team and somebody else does, the problem still remains. So if he elects to sell, he has to sell now, being Mr. Davis, or get out of it, or come back to Oakland and sell and get out of it. Or come back to Oakland and build something. But this deal is looking worse and worse from its ability to pencil all the time. And I know Bank of America has got to be looking at this and saying, hey, you know what? We got to talk. No one's talked about the financing issue. Let me get back to your questions. Let's see here. Trying to remember. Trying to get. Oh, John Marks, you have internet issues. Oh no, did they improve? And let's see here. Miguel Rose says, Corvette, I agree, but the fire is getting bigger all the time. Soon this fire is going to become a blazing inferno. Miguel Rose, that is the statement of the evening, or the night, of the late show. Late show. I'm doing my James Corden imitation. But you're right. You're absolutely right. And let's see here. Zinni, what do you think would happen if the mayor decided to break ground on a stadium tomorrow? I mean, in Oakland, it would dramatically change. Well, the A stadium or the Raiders stadium, it would dramatically change the situation. It really would. And yeah, Corvette says they're right. They're rushing everything. This is a big barn fire. Going to be a lot of mistakes. And Hector says they called unfit to Oakland. And Giovanni, good night. And yeah, it's 1:49 here. Jamal, I know I'm up. Ugh. But look, we've got 80 viewers. People are interested in this. And they've got questions. And their questions and comments should be, answered and addressed. Barry Lee says, I say the city of Oakland, Land need to file for an injunction to prevent the team from leaving based on the claim of bad faith negotiations. And normally I would agree. But that's adding insult to injury right now. And the Raiders are injured. And we need to present ourselves as the friend to the NFL and the friend to the Raiders and not make them look bad. Because this deal already makes them look bad. I've always said it's a bad deal, right? Well, now you're looking at why it's a bad deal, okay? And so, and it's just, you can't rush development. You cannot rush development. They're trying to do this and force everything rather than having some time to talk and work things out and get more money and more investors. And this is a huge undertaking because you're in an area that does not have enough infrastructure to handle a facility venue of the size we're talking about. It's unprecedented. It just is. And so, yeah, this project is in trouble. All right. John Mark says it's an insult to Sissy Spacek. Oh boy, that's hilarious. Davis is like this. Well, Crawford, I'm not going to entertain any comments that are insulting of Mark Davis. No. So I will not read them. What else do we have here? Let's see here. Click on that. And Drew Glaze says, is Larry Reed still fuming since the press conference? You know, Drew, I haven't talked to Larry yet, and I would guess that he is still fuming. But, you know, we'll see. My issue is that the city, according to Dan Cow, put out this idea, this message that, hey, if the Raiders leave, that's the end of sports in Oakland. And replace it with what? Yet another gentrifying land use? Why do that? What with all the homeless people scattered about in different parts of Oakland in an unprecedented fashion. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. You know, the problem with progressives today, and I say that being a loyal Democrat, is, but a guy who loves politics and a guy who sees, like as President Obama did, when he put together the Affordable Care Act, it wasn't to have single payer. It was to mix the best of conservative and liberal plans into something right in the middle. That's the way you solve a problem. My point is this, okay? Progressives spend too much time telling you what you can't do, but not enough time building jobs, telling you what you can do, all right? So we've got that problem in Oakland. And it's caused us to lose the Warriors. It's gotten us into this situation right here. And it's gotten us on the precipice with respect to the A's if we don't act. And the A's are going to act, fortunately. So my point is that, I'm saying that full and clear and loud and clear. Now, John Marks says Larry needs to get, busy. Peter Note says, if Oakland goes to Vegas, we might see a lot of slot machines go. Hey, that whole issue of gambling is another one. There's no language prohibiting gambling machines there, but you know the NFL is going to want it. So, and it took Bill Hornbuckle representing MGM to point that out. Think about that. Bill Hornbuckle is going to emerge as the Richard Heyman in all of this. If you don't know who Dr. Richard Heyman is or was, Google. Now, let's see here. Joseph Jones asks, how can Davis build a parking structure if he's already borrowed almost the full value of the Raiders? If he's going $1.5 billion in debt and the team is worth $2 billion, where is the money coming from? Projected future revenues, but then I question the solidity of those revenue sources. All right. Crawford says Grizz needs to get to work. He's getting to work. Maniac says, you think this is why Ronnie Lott has not commented on anything because he believes this deal is going to fall apart? I don't know. Yeah, given what Marcus Allen said, last week or so, April 21st. No, I don't think it's that, and I'm not sure what it is, other than perhaps he's upset. Is he working behind the scenes? I'm just gonna tell you I have no idea. I only remember that when Ronnie and I emailed back and forth, and I looked at this last night, he said to me in response to my idea, just call the NFL's bluff and give them the Coliseum land, he said, "Are you crazy?" Well, yeah, I thought it was a good idea. Now, hey, excuse me, how you like me now? How you like me now? Anyway, so, sorry. All right. So, Rick Rice says, yeah, it sounded like the Vegas people wanted to have poker tables and slot machines in the stadium. Yeah, and so let's see here. Melvin Lovejoy. Oh, that's a different subject. 831 Scott. I'm not going to deal with that now. Melvin Lovejoy says if the NFL doesn't want casino owners involved, how can they be on the stadium authority board? Won't the stadium authority own the casino, the stadium when it's owned, when it's all done, when it's done? Well, yeah, that's the idea, Melvin. And it's a very good question, and with a question that deserves an answer. And the NFL's position has been that they're aware that gambling is more accepted in society today than it was before. They still maintain stringent policies against players being involved in gambling and so on. So Todd Christensen says, do you think Mark Davis is finally going to open the top of Mount Davis? We'll see. Miguel Rose says, hey Zinni, where are all these souped projection financial resources coming from? When you say soup projected financial resources, what are you talking about specifically? Let me know that. Now, are you okay? Are you saying, I think I've got enough room to address that. Let me go down and then come back, Peter, Miguel. Crawford 371 says, give them land, that's what they want, right? Right. Rick Rice says, what the hell was an MGM Grand representative doing there anyway? Bill Hornbuckle has long been involved in the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee. He's a major player in the World Casino business, okay? And a major player by extension in Las Vegas business. So, and besides, he's got a great staff and a fantastic secretary. I've talked to her a couple of times. But at any rate, I haven't had a chance to meet him yet. But I digress. Now, Rick, is that crazy greed stuff? As a Falcon fan, I watch out for the other original Black Uni team. Okay, now, coming back to you, Miguel Rose, and your question, hey Zinni, but where are all those souped projected financial resources coming from? Okay, there is basically two primary financial resources. There's the money that's based on the bond issue. In the Stadium Authority discussion, Jeremy Aguilar discussed the projected revenue of expected, around $50 million a year, and then the waterfall that would be there for capital improvements to the stadium. An amount at total $250 million that he claims is more than any other stadium in NFL history. That's the first thing. That's one side. The other side is the more unknown revenue that would be needed to pay off the Bank of America line of credit, the credit facility, okay? Now, when the last time Bank of America provided a line of credit was the Falcon Stadium. That was for $850 million, as I reported last night. And it wasn't just Bank of America, it was 8 other banks that participated in that, okay? But the cost remains stable compared to where this is going. Because remember, prior to the vote, about 4 days prior to the vote, the projected cost for the stadium went from 1.9 billion to on the day of the vote, it went from 1.9 billion to 1.7 billion. That's 2 days before, right? It went down. Well, now it basically has to go back up again because of this issue. Okay? Now, Peter North says, I don't know what's worse. Car going down, the Raiders moving. Drew Glay says, my biggest concern... Oh, I'm sorry. Miguel Rose says, where is the bond issue money coming from? Now, you mean the bond issue for the construction? Okay, that part comes from the hotel, an increase of the hotel tax already approved as part of the Southern Nevada Tourism and Infrastructure Act, on October 16th of 2016, that was originally was supposed to be 0.7%, all right? But now it was increased just before the close of business of the SNTIC to 88/100%. And that's already took in just over $4 million for its first month of operation as a tax, all right? That's an additional tax for the stadium. That's on that side. Now, in terms of where the money is going to come from to pay off the Bank of America loan, I can speculate because stadium revenue calculation is not, rocket science. You got sponsorships, luxury suites, tickets, club, and personal seat license. Personal seat license monies will go to construction, so you take that out. You're not going to use that to pay off the Bank of America loan. You've then got, as a result, you've got luxury box revenues. Okay, maybe if the luxury box revenues, maybe you have 200 luxury boxes, and that luxury box is like $220,000 each or $200,000 each, and you can make sure they're bought every year. All right, you might be looking at a revenue stream that could pay off, the bond issue. But the bottom line is, if you do that, you'll be using roughly 90% over a 40-year period of your monies from over a 30-year period of your monies from luxury suite revenues at that level, just to pay off the Bank of America bond. You'd have no money as a team to pocket for yourself. So you'd say, well, where do we get the money from other places? Well, you'd have to get it from sponsorships, and you would have to hope that you're able to structure something like Bank of America, the Atlanta Falcons have done in terms of $1 billion of sponsorships, from naming rights and porridge and everything else, that you can then use for your team and say, okay, I'll use this for the team, and I'll take these luxury box revenues and I'll use this to help pay off the loan. But the bottom line is, you damn well better be able to sell those luxury suites. If you can't do that, you're looking at a default problem, okay? Or you're looking at something that's going to be close. You're looking at a dicey situation in that, all right? So, but on the other hand, if you're able to secure the kind of sponsorships that the Atlanta Falcons have been able to secure for their stadium, you can do it. Yeah, you can do it, okay? But the question is, can you do that in that Vegas market? And right now, I'm going to say the answer is no. No. That is a major problem. Now, okay, hope that answers your question, all right? And Todd Creech says, a gambling problem looks like a strong man. I don't think in the stadium in the NFL that's not 50 miles away. That's right, but that's not the consideration. Did they even get results from the soil test? If they did, they haven't published them, or at least I'm aware that they're published them. Now I'm working backward. English only, this is mercurial. Miguel Rose says, how long do you think it would take the Raiders to be able to pay off the B of A loan, if it is all possible? Miguel, that's a good question, because let's use Atlanta's Falcons Stadium as an example. That loan payoff period is 5 years, and then the idea is they're going to say, okay, let's, after 5 years, see where we are in terms of paying off the debt, and then we'll extend it on that basis. And we're also going to see where you are in terms of getting sponsorships. That was the agreement made with the Falcons, between the Falcons and B of A. Now, again, Bank of America was pleased to hear the news announced about a month and a half ago that the Falcons secured $1 billion in sponsorships. $1 billion. That's huge, folks. And it speaks to the economic power of this region. It really does. Atlanta should give itself a gigantic pat on the back for how far it's come as a metropolitan area in these United States and the world, I might add. Now, but I digress. Let's see here. Now, Joseph Jones says, Zinni, I also want this also raise ticket prices in addition to new parking structure. It should. Well, hold on. If you can engineer, because you have the cost. Let's put it this way: for every cost, there's a revenue. For every revenue, there's a culminating cost, right? So the big question is, how much can you charge to park that would then go to paying off that structure? That needs to be figured out, and I'll sit down and do some quick calculations next. All right. My off the top feeling is that, absent another You're going to have another source of revenue coming from somewhere to help pay for that. You have to slide something over. You can gain revenue in part from the operation of the parking structure itself over X period of years. All right? But here is the big problem, folks. You got to buy the land for it. Or you have to seek a lowest possible cost alternative. What is that? Well, some have mentioned MGM's parking structures, but the idea is that MGM's lukewarm to that idea. Absent that, what else? If you're saying, hey, look, we're just going to look throughout the county somewhere, you've got to get the people from A to B, and that in and of itself produces a traffic problem. In other words, you can't just locate the parking land and facility anywhere, because you still have to get those 10,000, the people that have the cars, that add up to 10,050 spaces from there to there, the stadium, right? That's a transportation issue in itself. That creates transportation. So you're not going to create, you don't want to design a situation that creates more problems. Besides, Clark County's not going to let you. It's got to be as close as possible. And that brings us to the problem of land acquisition and cost. Additional cost. Okay? Now, let's see here. You're welcome, Rick. Okay. How do I see this week 2 horror opener looking like? How do I see the week 2 open? That's another question for another time. And it's 2:14, and I want to break at 2:30. Okay. Joseph Jones, with this this would indeed raise ticket prices. It could. They could decide to put a rider on that, and it depends on how they want. It depends on how they want to look at the structure. They can look at the structure as an opportunity to create another revenue generator and team with the developer, which they would have to do. And that developer may want to add some other type of use that could generate revenue to help pay for the structure. Well, excuse me, would generate revenue to help pay for the structure. But see if the developer does that, then the developer and the Raiders get into argument over revenue splits. That process in and of itself would prolong this project. You will not see 2020. I'll dare say you see 2021. Just saying, all right? Okay? Yeah, thank you, moderators. Okay, what did I miss here? And Peter North, your questions are fantastic, man. Thank you. All you guys are coming through with fantastic questions, and we've got a good group watching for a Thursday night. Thank you. And thank you for the respectable people. Maurice Keith, so they need a parking structure. What about the tailgating? Well, Maurice, that's a great question. Because the Clark County planner said that the Raiders had to find alternative off-site parking. She didn't say it necessarily had to be a structure. Okay? So, I'll double check that. That's why I'm looking at my costs. My point is, it doesn't, I'm going to say from now, unless I'm corrected, it does not exclude the opportunity to tailgate. In fact, look, okay, 6,200 spaces at least will be on stadium grounds. There's your tailgating opportunity right there. All right? But off-site, it's not that people aren't going to try to tailgate. But will they do it in a building? Yeah, somebody will. Sure. I don't think those opportunities go away. I mean, there's no sign up that says, no tailgating. As long as cars are involved in being invited to park, you get tailgating. Period. It's when you don't get the cars that you don't get the tailgating. Now, let's see here. Go Warriors. Watch out, Spurs. I agree. And so, if they don't have any land for parking, where are they going to tailgate? Well, they won't. Well, Clark County is asking them to come up with land. So you can say tailgating is going to be there in one way or another, either indoor or outdoor. Jamal Miller says, I like the question someone brought up about if Team A fails, does that mean the NFL will provide a Team B? Oh yeah, and the answer is no. Basically, the question there was actually his nuance. What it wasn't so much Team A and Team B. It would always be the Raiders. Okay? But under new ownership, that person is expected to abide by all of the contracts that have been signed, including the non-relocation agreement, which hasn't even been drawn up yet, let alone signed. Once the Raiders do that, they're stuck, man. Stuck. So you can bet, particularly after this bit of news, that the Raiders are kind of going, watch. And so, yes, tailgate in 150-degree weather stadium sounds like fun to me. No. Hey, they could put it indoors and make it fun. A tailgating mall, indoors. Joseph Jones says, Zinni, do you think the Raiders were blindsided by the addition of the parking structure deal? Yeah, I do. Because I'm going to go back over my SNTIC notes or documents, but it's always been an assumption that the parking would be on-site. This calls for off-site parking. You have two issues that have conspired to weigh heavy on this project. The first is the Southern Nevada Tourism and Infrastructure Act's call for off-site infrastructure spending. Now, and the Raiders have to provide an adequate amount. Someone brought an article to me by the Las Vegas Review-Journal stating that, well, they want to float they being Clark County want to float a $200 million bond issue for the infrastructure for the interchange. Okay, that's an idea that's been talked about. But that's only $200 million of a $900 million cost load. The Raiders are still expected to help out with the other amount, the other total to some degree, as the law calls for an adequate amount. Then that's that. That's one thing. That's the off-site infrastructure issue. Then we have this off-site parking issue. Okay, that's new. And again, I'm not saying Clark County is heaping anything extra on the Raiders that they wouldn't ask for from any other large-scale facility being planned. Like, for example, Steve Wynn's $1.5 billion resort that he's considering, that he's trying to get going. And so, Jamal Mills says, I wonder what was going through the Raiders officials' heads when they heard about being stuck for 30 years. That's insane. Yeah, well, you got to pay off a bond issue, and that's what Clark County doesn't want to get into is what Alameda County is dealing with in terms of that leftover money. Okay? And LX9933, how are you? And it says, is the city of Oakland getting involved again? This is their chance. I agree. Don't know the answer to that. And 831 Scott says, Coliseum is the best bet. You're right, as John Marks says. Now, let's see here. So Joseph Jones says, so that means the Raiders are going to pull in $2 billion for $1.9 billion stadium? Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, John Marks. Miguel Rose says, Zinni, do you see the Raiders' new Las Vegas stadium causing any issues at all for tailgaters? No. And again, it's for this simple reason. When you add parking, you add tailgate opportunities, either indoor or outdoor. It's when you don't have parking, when you take parking away, you take away tailgating opportunities. Right now, you can say you're going to have tailgating opportunities right there at the stadium right now, if they ever build it. Okay. Now, Joseph, the Raiders don't have $2 billion. They can make that. They can make that in the Bay Area. Crawford, you ain't never lied. Let's see here. Who did I miss? It's 2:22. Folks, to anyone watching, I'm going to stop at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time in the morning. It is 2:22. Just a heads up if you want to say, okay, I'm going to go to bed and I'm tired of listening to Zinni, but God bless you for tuning in and hearing what I have to say about this and have to report. And I will be back tomorrow with more information on this update. I normally don't do a Friday live stream, but I'm going to do one early. If you want a time, it'll be more like, I'm going to be early, like it'll be 5 o'clock Pacific, which is 8 o'clock in thereabouts in the evening. 8 o'clock, yeah, 5 o'clock, probably 4:30 4:30, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. I know that's earlier, but I need my beauty rest. So, and it's Mother's Day weekend coming up and everything else. Coliseum, you get that space and more offsite. That's true. A question of traveling Raider fans. I hope no gas jacking prices during football season. Oakland Coliseum is always the best stadium ever of all time, says John Marks, and John Marks is correct. Peter North says, could that happen? That's a good question, Peter. Corvette says, Mark said the big was tailgating fans and now tailgating offsite joke. Well, they'll be tailgating the onsite. I don't see tailgating as the problem. It's the offsite additional parking that's the new issue for them. And let's see here. And Rick Rice says that Barry Lee was saying, I was thinking about it. Another thing that could slow down construction in Vegas, increase costs, is to build the sandstorms. Great point, Barry. And Rick Rice says that's exactly right. That's why we're trying to prevent them from leaving. Jamal Mills says, I was wondering what was going through the Raiders officials' heads when they heard about them being stuck for 30 years. I think I already went through that again. And let's see here. LX says, Zinni is right. Tailgating will not be a problem. Parking would be the issue. Thank you, LX. And Corvette says they should just build a stadium in Vegas out of matchsticks because the stadium is a firestorm. Oh boy, and speaking of firestorms, oh, I need some water to cool off here. It's 2:24, folks. Yuri Yurt says, well, indoor Kaylee isn't confirmed guess at this point. We're all just speculating. Zinni speculating. Well, but the whole point is that how can you, let me ask, okay? What is indoor tailgating but opening up the back of your car and opening up your picnic basket, which is in the back of your car, and eating? That's it, right? So there's your tailgate. How the hell are you going to stop somebody from tailgating from their car in a parking lot? We're going to say, well, no tailgating? You're going to slap a ticket on everybody that tailgates because you think that they're blocking, access, going back and forth? No one would do that. They're not going to stop someone else from coming through. No one does that at Raider games. So what do you mean? That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you get cars, you get tailgating. In other words, let me put it this way. You get cars, you get people. You get people, you get what people do. People tailgate. So there you go, all right? That's all I'm saying. So let's see here. And we've got John Marks says, call the mayor of Oakland, 510-238-3141. Yep. Also, the Oakland City Council, is 510-238-3266. You can ask for Larry Reed. There you go. Okay. Now, what did I miss here? It says, by the way, Zinni, what would you say is the ideal off-site parking places should that happen? That's a good question, and I'll do some homework on that. Okay. Right now, I don't know. I haven't anticipated this outcome, so I don't have a ready answer for you, but I'll look at it. Now, Crawford says, can you also put Alameda County number also? I will do that. Let me see. Let me look that up right now. Who should you call at the Alameda County? I think you should call Scott McKibben because he is the president. So let me see here. Not Scott McKibben. Scott Haggerty is what I meant. Scott Haggerty, Alameda. And I'm looking this up for you, so you won't have to. And let's see here. This is Scott Haggerty's number here. I am copying, and I am going down. And that's not where I was. Where was I? Let's see here. I'm going down here. There was I. Okay, there is Scott Haggerty. It's 227, folks. Haggerty. That's Scott Haggerty's number, okay? Now, and so let's see here. Let's see here. 831 Scott asks, do I think Raiders, the Vegas will take ideas from the Arizona Stadium. Oops, excuse me. And not let the let's see here, because it's desert too. In terms of design, yeah, I think that's quite a possibility. I do. Neil Parrish says, what company in the Vegas area would have naming rights? Kind of hard to get away from gambling. Well, I have 3 words: Bank of America. There's something there that could be done. Let's see here. Bank of America. Now Miguel Rose says false. And okay, yeah. Spearmint Rhino Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, 228, folks. Do you believe a lease agreement will be done by the NFL's hell no May 22nd deadline? Hell no. If not, do you think it'll push the 2020 opening to 2021 or later? Hell yes. Peter North, Miguel, they shouldn't. They are one of the less traditional teams left. Okay, and with that, folks, it's 2:29. I'm going to say, hey, good night, folks. And this has been fantastic for a kind of impromptu, well, late starting talk that I thought was going to go on just for a few moments. But, I think we've gotten the gist of it out of the way, and I'll follow up tomorrow. But thank you. Wax on. Good night, everybody. Wax on. Wax off. Wax on. You can bet your last money it's all going to be a stone, gas, honey. I am not Don Cornelius. I can't even pronounce his name correctly because I'm exhausted. I'm Zinni Abraham. Good night, everybody, until tomorrow or today. Good night, and, good night, everybody. Good night, John, Joseph, John Marks, Melvin, Rick Rice, Raider Kuko. I haven't seen Victoria. I'm working on getting some interesting guests, by the way. That's another one. Good night, everybody. Good night. The clock has just struck 2:30, and I am out. See you later.